Well, it's Tuesday, and you all know what that means. As you probably know, NXT just finished up their 2 week event, Revenge. However, apparently, the more things change, the more things remain. Well, apparently, as you probably know, our current champions, well, they're going to have their eyes in the back of their heads because new faces have been appearing on NXT. And this is going to be a very chaotic episode for everyone on NXT. So I can't wait to review this one. But first things first, we're going to be reviewing, of course, Kenta Kobashi's Fortune Dream 11, which is an event that happens once a year, and they feature various talents either from from promotions or the freelancers. This one, of course, features Unagi Sayaka teaming up with Murder Grandpa Minoru Suzuki, taking on, of course, Izuki Aoki and Ikuto Idaka. And of course, we have a Yoshi Wrestling 3-way. Suri versus Shihiro Hashimoto versus Saya Kamitani, which is going to be epic. And then we move on, of course, with the latest event by Wrestling Revolver with Revolver Strong, featuring, of course, the main event, which is a retirement death match. And it's going to be a very bloody match, but we do also have, of course, the vacant of the tag team belts and the world title as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun to enjoy. And then, of course, we'll wrap up our episode as usual with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Lead It Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to the Lead It Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. In the world of wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information is unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us and click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough of the jibber jabbers. Let's get started. So, let's begin with Fortune Dream 11. Okay, Kenta Kobashi's Fortune Dream 11. Now this happened, of course, on the 16th of April, was not even broadcast until the 27th of April, and it happened in Korakuen Hall. Now, for those who are not familiarized with this event happens every once a year by, of course, retired Japanese wrestler Kenta Kobashi. Many of you who may not know who he is, he's been well recognized in promotions like All Japan and Noah. There was that epic match, from what I'm hearing, that he had with Hiroshi Tanahashi, the ace of New Japan and all that. And every year he does these events where he brings in wrestlers from either if they're freelancing or from promotions like New Japan, Noah, Dragon Gate, All Japan, DDT, wherever he wants to find them. And that's how he does. In every session, like at certain points, he likes to do like talk battles with other people, like legendary wrestlers, talk about their matches that they had in the past, that sort of thing. Had that with, of course, in the middle of the event during against Hiroshi Tanahashi. So it was great to see the Ace make his presence there too. Now, our first match is singles action, of course. We have Shota Kofuji from All Japan taking on Kotaro Suzuki, currently of GLEAT. Pretty good match. I have to say, Kofuji really, really impressed me due to the fact that he is a young boy who is still on the learning curve, but he is improving his skills and his wrestling craft. But unfortunately, he ended up in the Tiger Driver by Suzuki, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, adios. Now, next match, we have a tag team match, and we have, hopefully I pronounced this right, Kazuaki Mihara and Soi Damanji. They take on Kazumara Yoshida and Yukio Naya. Now, of course, I am familiarized with Yukio Naya. He's from DDT, of course, a very popular wrestler, a guy who felt like he's going to be going at the top of the mountain. That's something that I've been aware of, and he's been very impressive, nonetheless. But he was able to pick up the win when he applied a backdrop driver on Mihara, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. The next match is a intergender tag team match. We have Izuki Aoki teaming up with Hikaru Idaka, taking on, of course, the resident eel Unagi Sayaka and Murder Grandpa Minoru Suzuki. What I like about this match is Minoru Suzuki and Unagi, because for those who may not remember, Minoru Suzuki always, he gets annoyed by Unagi even whenever she sees him in wrestling matches in All Japan or anywhere else. Not to mention when they have some epic matches outside together, either in her produced shows, that sort of thing. And I thought it was real fun. And now they get to be in the same match together, taking on. And I thought it was real fun. But the best moment is, as you know, Suzuki always respected Kenta Kobashi. But Kenta Kobashi, let's just say, has a bit of fun, knowing too well that he likes to chop his the wrestlers. But Suzuki was trying to get, of course, Hidaka to be chopped, but he accidentally get chopped by Kobashi, and then he tried Aoki, but failed either way. And of course, Suzuki got chopped many times by Kenta Kobashi, and then Unagi tried that little rubber band thing on him, but it backfired. It hit her instead. I thought it was really, really, really funny, and I thought it was fun. But however, when it comes to Murder Grandpa, there is no escape. He won by applying the Gotch-style pie driver on Hidaka, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, adios. Our next match, which is our semi-main event, is the Yoshi Wrestling, Chihiro Hashimoto, Suri, and Saya Kamitani. Now, of course, when it comes to Kamitani, we all know her shtick because she's a member of Hate. She does whatever she wants in order to do what she gets. Of course, she tried to soften up all her wrestlers outside her ring, and that's what she tried to do. But, however, Suri is like, hell no. She decided to play her little dirty game, which she should have known better not to do that with Suri, because Suri, she's all business. She's not here to play games, and I think that's the thing that Kamitani has failed to recognize. Suri, she's not here for the fun games. She's here to fight. And if you can't give it to her, well, you get your butt kicked. That's how it works. But unfortunately, this match ended in a time limit draw after 30 minutes. So sooner or later, we may have to see this match again at some point or another place. I don't know. But we'll see what happens. Now, our main event is a 6-man tag match. We have the franchise Titus Alexander teaming up with Shuhei Taniguchi and, of course, Keno. They take on Daiki Odashima, Keito Kiyomiya, and, of course, one of the pillars of All Japan, Jun Akiyama, of course. And that's really fun to enjoy, of course. I enjoyed this match. It was fun. And Keno, for those who never seen him, he is all business too. But when it comes to him facing against like Juneki Yamai, it's like saying, I'm gonna cement myself into, be solidified as being the one that beat you, and that kind of sets it up. But what I loved about is Odashima. I have seen Odashima, how much he has grown so much in Noah. Not to mention learning from Daga, of course. But he was able to pick up the win when he pinned Taniguchi, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. And I think it was a real fun match. I enjoyed it. I did enjoy, of course, the last 3 matches. Of course, those are like my ultimate favorite ones that I enjoy the most. So if you guys haven't seen it, try to go find it somewhere if you can. But yes, it's a fun event. So we'll see what happens. But as of right now, let's move on with our next review, and that is, of course, Wrestling Revolver. Okay, Wrestling Revolver with Revolver Strong. This is their much recent event, and for your information, for anybody who wants to watch this, this is free, of course, on their YouTube channel. As many of you may not know, I mentioned this in a previous news update on one of the episodes, recent episodes, where they're no longer using Thrilla TV as a platform. So you can see this already on their YouTube channel. Now, this particular event happened on the 25th of April, of course, just to put it out there for anybody who needs to know. We opened up with Gringo Loco versus Jay Chris, and I thought it was a fantastic match. I mean, look, Gringo Loco has been a well-recognized, high flyer, adopting the lucha libre style and all that. And Jay Chris, well, who could forget about his group, part of Ohio versus Everyone, or OVE, that sort of thing. That's one of the things we know about him. But however, he could have used whatever he had in his arsenal, but he applied a backslide, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, Jay Chris picked up the win. And then, of course, we had a post-match promo from Loco himself, showing respect to Jay Chris, but we should have known better that it was all an act, and he just gave him a low blow just to show him who's boss, that sort of thing. So he totally will get his "they come" by Jay Chris one way or another. Now, the Rascals, as you all know, were Desmond Xavier and, of course, Zachary Wentz. They had to relinquish the Revolver World Tag Team belts, but they made it clear that there's going to be a crowning of brand new champions, and that's where we go up next from here. The titles are on the line. We have Tie or Die, consisting of Ryan Matthias and KG Reynolds, taking on the Outbreak, Abel Booker and Jacqueline Crowley. Now, I don't know much about these guys, but these guys can't look like they came out of the zombie apocalypse, that sort of thing. And it was hard to tell who it was, but of course the last thing you don't want is get bitten by a zombie. That's the last thing you need. But luckily it was, but we did see a moment where the referee was taken out, but luckily their Tie or Die had a trumpeting card, their third guy, watching, making sure everything went well. But we did see a pinfall on one of the zombies. I don't know which one. I couldn't tell which is, Abel, which one is Jackson, that sort of thing. But yeah. But however, it was Tie or Die who became the new tag team champions. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was by pinfall. Our next match, we have Alan Angels, formerly known as Five, taking on EC3, making his Revolver Wrestling debut, of course. Well, I'm sure Alan Angels had no idea what he's getting himself into. When EC3, we all know who he is, his reputation, all that. But he was able to pick up the win when he applied the 1%er, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. So welcome to Wrestling Revolver EC3. Now our next match is an elimination match with the Algorithm, consistent of Brent Oakley, formerly of Alpha Zig, Crash, and Joe Alonso. They take on Alpha Zig, consistent of Dick Myers. I forgot who else is in here, but yeah, KG Reynolds, and they team up with BDE. And of course, this match went crazy. as you probably would expect it. But this how it goes down. Uh, Crash eliminates both guys of Alpha Zig, leaving BDE all by himself. But he was able to survive it much as longer because he was able to defeat Crash when he applied a frog splash, and then he got rid of um, Joe Alonso by pinfall. And then, but it was Brett Oakley that picked up the win by knocking him out, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, the algorithm picked up the win. Now our next match, it's a Revolver 24/7 scramble match. So we had various people, but their champion, Big Pound, was involved. We had who else? Jeffrey John. Trying to remember who else, but a bunch of people. But this match ended with Big Pound retaining the championship, in case anybody asks. Our next match, we had Damian Chambers versus Rich Swann. Good match, but Rich Swann's second hit, which is of course his lady, was there on the side, and of course when it comes to her, you know perfectly well she's going to try to help out, make sure Damian Chambers picked up the win. But however, it was Rich Swann with a frog splash, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, adios. Next up, we have the Revolver World Championship. Mance Warner making his attempt against Kroll. Now, this was not a straight up match. This was a total death match with a lot of plunder being used. You know, tables, ladders, and chairs. Any small, sharp objects that could take out Kroll. But of course, it was Mance Warner with a tornado DDT through a table onto Kroll, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. But however, while Warner was celebrating the fact that he won, well, Kroll decided to attack him back as retribution for losing the match. And of course, he's a sore loser. That's what it was. But it is what it is. Our next match is called the Ganger's Retirement Death Match. I don't know who Ganger is, but it seems that he's an expert in death matches. He faces Alex Colon, who I've seen many times, even dating back to GCW. Man, this guy went all out, bloody, all tubes, all that. But he applied a modified crossface, and just like that, Ganger actually picked up lost, but Alex Colon won. So just like that, it was completely over. You should definitely check it out, see what you guys think. So as of right now, we're done with Wrestling Revolver. Let's move on with our last NXT. Okay, NXT. We opened up, of course, earlier in the day where Mr. Stone was in the office talking with, of course, Shawn Michaels and Big Al, of course, about certain changes that were happening. Apparently, they were talking about bringing in fresh new talent from both Evolve and LFG, which is something that's been saying, as you all already been watching Raw and SmackDown, many wrestlers have been making their way to the main roster, and that was the whole point. Now, our opening match is the NXT North American Championship. Miles Bourne once again is defended against another member of the Dark or State, which is Shaquan Sugas. Now, obviously, we saw what happened last time where Miles Bourne defended against Dion Lennox, but things went out of hand. But of course, Shaquan actually tried to plead his case, and he did. Now, of course, we knew that Dark State was going to get involved one way or the other. But later we did see Dion Lennox try to use the chair onto Miles Bourne, but it was eventually averted by, of course, Saquon, but it did not work in his favor until, of course, Miles Bourne picked up the win. 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, during the post-match, we did see, of course, Tristan Angels, who we've seen recently in Evolve, making his presence known. But unbeknownst to him, Cam Hendricks just showed up out of nowhere and attacked Miles Bourne, which, of course, this is one of the things we've been hearing about new faces making their presence known on NXT. Now, making his way to the ring, Tony D'Angelo, our current NXT champion. Let's just say he talked about how things changed, but the more things remain. But he also talked about, of course, the one thing that is on his mind was a person sending a box to him and no one knew exactly what that meant. And of course, he's watching the fact that what's his name? Keanu Carver, in the other hand, has his sights set. But however, um, Tony D'Angelo made the choice that he wants to find out who sent them that box. Some mysterious hooded figures show up with a offering. But here's the thing that what people then that I might have alluded a little bit. Tony D'Angelo said, "I'm not stupid. I know what the box means. It's a warning." So it's not like someone is calling him out. It's giving him and telling him to watch your back. And of course, this hooded figure showed up, and it turned out to be Evil. That's right, formerly of New Japan Pro Wrestling. And they even mentioned the former IWGP Heavyweight Champion. And that's something that was very well recognized. While Evil made his exit, he was attacked by Tavion Heights. No, Tony Angelo was attacked by Tavion Heights. No one knows exactly what this meant, but it turns out he's not the only one. Another guy, a fat dude, I don't know who he is, does a moonsault. But I did learn a little bit later who he is, and I'll mention that because he's part of the news updates, of course. So because at first Vic Joseph thought he was just a fan. I don't know. I mean, he does look like a fan, but he pulled off a moonsault, which tells us he's a pro wrestler. Now, we did see, of course, Blake Monroe's being laid to rest by Tatum Paxley with the help of Shallow Hill. And of course, Shallow Hill is telling Tatum Paxley that he has his biggest night ever taking on Ricky Saints. That's something, of course, we're going to have to see what happens. And I think that's our main event. Now, our next match, we have Birthright, consistent of Stax and Uriah Connors. It was supposed to be A.K. Prosper and Dorian Van Dux, but apparently he was attacked by Birthright. They thought this match was going to be simple, with E.K. Prosper being all by himself. Unbeknownst to them, it was, of course, Sean Legacy who stepped up the game, who was recently injured, and now he's back. And this was the last thing the Birthright expected. Now, of course, we know there was going to be interference coming from the outside, but it didn't do any good until, of course, it was Sean Legacy with the shambles onto, of course, onto Uriah Connors, and just like that, onto Stax. 1, 2, 3, it was over. And then, of course, we did see a beatdown by Birthright, who would not take this loss lightly. They tried to beat up both EK and Legacy until, of course, Tate Wilde came to the rescue and took matters in own. It seems like now more names are being added into the NXT roster. Now, in the women's locker room, they're fully aware of what's going on. Apparently, we are seeing new faces. Of course, what's her name? Thea Hale and Jada Parker are talking about, how things are changing and all that until, of course, Kylie Armstrong got into a bit of a debate between both her and Jada Parker. So we will see those two taking each other off next week. Now, Mr. Stone was talking to Tate Wilde, welcoming him into the NXT family, so that is his welcome mat. But however, Lola Vice showed up telling him that she's going to call out Izzy Dane after what happened last time when she was attacked and be used by, Nico and, of course, Sean Spears. Now, of course, Lola Vice was not going to take this kindly. And then Sean Spears showed up once again thinking he outsmarted Lola Vice, but however, Lola Vice outsmarted the Culling when she called in for help, and she called in the help of Mr. Iguana, which was the last person I'm sure they expected, and I thought it was pretty fun, and it was really great to see Mr. Iguana. Now, Darkseid, as you know, they're right now in a bit of a state of what the hell is going on here, where we saw what happened earlier in the match with Saquon and of course Miles Bourne, that kind of thing. So a lot of things is going wrong with, of course, with Darkseid. I mean, could this mean they're falling apart? Who knows? Now, our next match, we have the debut of Lizzie Rain taking on Lakita Lyons. And I have to say, Lizzie Rain is really interesting. She brings in the metal with her. And I thought it was a pretty good match. But the one thing that was interesting is the way she took out Nikita Lyons. I wasn't too sure what that was, but it was fantastic. And she called it Thunderstruck. Now, I'm not sure exactly if she got that from the AC/DC stuff, but yes, it's great. Now, Miles Bourne, of course, we did see him talking to Tavion, questioning his actions, what he was doing. But of course, Tavion Heights is doing his thing. And then, of course, Miles Bourne was given a warning by none other than, of course, Keanu Carver. So it seems that he's putting both the current NXT North American champion and the NXT champion on notice. So we'll see where that goes. Now, our next match is Kelani Jordan and Ren Sinclair. Earlier in the day, they confronted each other and all that, but this was a non-title match, in case anybody asked. But one thing that was interesting is that Kelani Jordan targeted Ren Sinclair's knee, and it was getting bad for her until, of course, Jordan applied the one-of-a-kind leg split moonsault. 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, our main event is, of course, the Vanity Project. Of course, as you know, they're noticing the same things too, where new faces are making their presence known. Smokes and Baylor, as you know, the NXT Tag Team Champions. Now it's, of course, Blake, what's his name, Drake, making his statement. But of course, he was, approached by Jasper Troy, and we will see those two take on each other soon. Now, we did see our main event, which is Shala Hill versus Ricky Saints. Man, it was a pretty good match. Saints, I'm sure, was looking a little payback for what happened last time, but it was Shala Hills with the whisper to the Beast, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, Tony D'Angelo says that he loved the chaos and all that, and of course, Shawn Michaels telling him that it's time for him to prove his point, who's in charge now. So that sort of thing. So, of course, Tony D'Angelo is not going to back down from anybody, especially if they're coming from LFG and Evolve. So we'll see what happens until then. But for now, we are done. We'll move on to our last and final thing to wrap up this episode, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So as always, let's begin with upcoming events. As you know, we're almost there at the start of the month of May. As you know, on May 1st, they'll be making their debut in Joppa, Maryland for Express Lane. It was announced that On-Call Manders will take on Bojack. And then, of course, the following day on May 2nd at the ECW Arena for one night only, the GCW World Championship will be defended. Atticus Cower, the Silver-Tooth Satan, defended against Marcus Mathers. And then, of course, they even mention Ricky Morton, who, as you all know, has been involved in hardcore match and will take on KJ Orso, formerly known as Fuego del Sol. New show alert coming from GCW. As you know, they will be making their presence known back in LA at the UCC for the America's Most Wanted. That will happen on the 27th of June. Now, they haven't announced yet who will be involved, but I'm sure soon enough, once this announcement has already been made, we will be getting the first mention. Now, as you know, speaking of early May, as you know, May 1st, House of Glory will be making their return to LA for the Glory at the Globe. 2 matches have been announced. Well, 2 announcements were made. Danny Limelight and Slice Boogie, together known as 5150, will be making their presence known there. And they even announced Thunder Rosa will take on Brittany Brooks. So that's pretty much from that. As you all know, the Hana Kimora Memorial Show will take place once again. It's been nearly almost going to be 7 years since the passing of Hana Kimora. And they announced Benny will be teaming up with Hate members Konami and Rina to take on Jungle Kyona, Mika Iwata, and Miyomoto. But what's interesting, as you know, 3 of these wrestlers have a close relationship with the late Hana Kimura. We're talking about Konami and Rina and Joe Kyona. But however, Joe Kyona did mention something. I'll get to that in a bit on the development section of our news updates. And then, of course, finally, as you know, we have our next big show from Stardom, the Grand Dynasty 2026. That will happen on the 23rd of course, of May. Ironically, it's also the same day of Hana Kimura's memorial. I wouldn't be surprised if they start out the show honoring Hana Kimura in every way. So now it's been confirmed that 2 title matches will be involved. The white belt, aka known as the Wonder of Stardom Championship, Hana will be making her first title defense against the traitor known as B. Priestley. So yes, if you saw what happened at the All-Star Grand Queendom, B. Priestley betrayed Hana and Stars. And then, of course, we have the World of Stardom Championship, aka the Red Belt. Sayaka Kurara will make her first title defense against Maki Itoh, who has declared war against the Cosmic Angels, calling Kurara as the mastermind of the heel unit known as Cosmic Angel. Even though we'll talk about that just at a discussion level when we get there. Now, I think that's pretty much it what we have for our news updates. Now let's talk to some developments. If you guys saw what I mentioned earlier about NXT, about some guy, a fat dude, doing a moonsault, well, it was revealed that this guy is a UK wrestler named Will Cross. He was the one who actually attacked Tony D'Angelo with the moonsault onto him. So it turns out he was wrestling with Progress Wrestling. I did not know who this guy is until after the whole thing, and I wrote that on my notes. That way we keep track who is exactly involved. Now, Fightful Select reports that Santos Escobar is planning to return to CMLL. Yeah. I know some of you are thinking, why couldn't he go to AAA? Well, for many of you who don't know this, he was part of CML before AAA. He was part of that company for a couple years. There was like a group of wrestlers that left, kind of like an invasion in AAA known as the Consejo, which of course represent wrestlers from CMLL. And there was discussions about having CML bring him back, but due to the fact that Santos resigned, that kind of put the plans on hold. And there's been reports that there's been conversations about them talking once again. Now, Maki Itoh, as you know, recently has been bringing up the Itoh Respect Army, and currently it's just her and Kyoko Furuzawa. But she did mention there are two people that she has in mind that she would like to recruit. Amongst them is Rian and Kyoka Kotatsu. Now, of course, Kyoka Kotatsu is part of God's Eye. I'm not sure if she's willing to make the jump to, of course, joining Maki Itoh. That's something I don't know. Rian, well, I know recently Rian has been involved with Yuna Mizumori. It's the Cosmic Angels, not to mention. We know that she's been very, very close and helpful with Natsupo, of course. Natsupo giving her some bit of pointers on certain things. Not sure about that yet, but hopefully soon enough we'll get that. Now, as you know, the Motor City Machine Guns were amongst the few wrestlers that were released as well alongside Santos Escobar. Reports are saying that the TNA said that they're always welcome to return to TNA. However, there's talk about that maybe they'll have some spots opening for them in AEW. Now, we know that there was been talks about AEW trying to sign them, but apparently they end up with WWE. And of course, people are saying, you know, you got what you got deserved, you got the greener pasture sort of thing. Look, it's no one's fault, of course. No one would have expected this was going to happen, but it did. Now, we continue on with more developments. Dave Meltzer gave his bit of a knowledge about what he was hearing about Kairi Sane. Many of you know that there's been a lot of buzz about her being released. Well, there's been concerns over the fact that, of course, she may be returning to Japan. Let me pull up exactly what Dave Meltzer said, so that way we get a clear view what he said about what he was talking about. He said, the Kairi thing, the reason she was cut was, I think, that she kind of indicated she wanted to move back to Japan. The reality is, this is not a money issue. This company makes whatever it is. The revenue between UFC and WWE and throwing everything in, the revenue and the billions of dollars, you know. So basically, some people think this is something else. Now, if she wanted to go to Japan, I understand that, because, I mean, that's where they want to be. Now, Mika Iwata, many of you may know her. She's part of Send That Girl as well. She kind of talked about the wedding that she attended of you and her husband, of course. And she was very emotional, guys. I seen her as the kind of person who's very serious, but her letting her heart and emotions out about Yu's marriage, well, this is what she said. The moment Yu-san stepped out of behind the door and all the female wrestlers were ready to sobbing, Takase and Misan crying loudly and dramatic while the whole time Hashimoto quietly closing her eyes and shedding tears. My eyes still swollen. I'm sorry, I'm just basking in it forever. Yeah, I get it, guys. Like, this is someone you work with, someone you hanged out with, you, that sort of thing. And I get it. You are watching a beautiful moment, where you're seeing someone is taking the next step of their lives, and you just can't imagine how that is. But yeah, I get it. Now, Jungle Kyona, as you know, she'll be making her appearance at the upcoming Hana Kimora Memorial Show. She had this thing to say. This year's marks the 7th anniversary of Hana's passing. I've never been able to compete in the match in Hana's memorial tournament. This year I really wanted to make it happen and wrestle. Right after getting clearance to return from my teacher, I told Hibika-san, please let me have my comeback match here. And she was overjoyed, and I was thrilled too. So yes, she wanted to do this. For those who may not know this, Joe Kyona and Hana Kimura have very an interesting relationship, even when Hana was still alive. Many of you who did not know followed the story about Hana Kimura and Joe Kyona. Many of you may remember Joe Kyona had a faction known as the Jungle Assault Nation, or Jan. She ended up in one of those matches where the leader, the fallen leader, will have to disband the group, and unfortunately, Joe Kyona was in fact the one who lost, and it put the Jungle Assault Nation in a position where, oh man, everybody has to go their separate ways. But however, Hana Kimura, who had no, it was just herself with the International Cyber Squad, if that's what she called it. Her first pick was Jungle Kyona, and people call it a twist of fate. And she picked her to be her second, of course, in command of the faction later known as the Tokyo Cyber Squad. And they people said that they often hang out together even after wrestling, even when they're not wrestling. They always hang out, and they really had a good bonding relationship. And it's the same thing with, of course, after Hana's passing. She even bonded with, of course, Hana's mother, Kyoko, and that kind of sets it up right there. And I understand that this, for John Kyona, is something that she wanted to do. I mean, we saw this with Kagetsu and Hazuki, but of course, we all know what happened to Kagetsu. She became a transitional, and now works with the police department in some prefecture. And of course, Hazuki returned back to Stardom. So we all know how that turns out. But anyways, I can't wait to see what Joan Kyona is going to do. Hopefully, I mean, the last time she wrestled, she had to face Nane Takahashi in Marigold. But I can't wait to see her back. I know she's been having problems with her knees, so we'll see what happens. But as of right now, let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we probably head into Wednesday. We have AEW Dynamite, and of course, we probably have Evolve. I haven't decided yet, but I've been recently aware of the recent Stardom event. We're now in the aftermath after the All-Star Grand Queendom, and see how things will build up with the storylines for upcoming 2 title matches later on in the month of May. Can't wait to see how that rolls. If there's anything else, we'll just have to wait and see. But as of right now, I'll say this, and I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.